and a lot of this stuff, his grandpa's farm is right on the Loramie Creek. So a lot of the stuff we'll be talking about today is right in his front yard, practically.
And not to interrupt you, but I ran off a map
Saw that.
centered on your area.
Yes.
If you want to refer to that for anything,
Okay.
it's kind of right in the center there.
All right. I taught school in Fort Loramie, Ohio for 30 years. Taught American history and American government, and it proved to me to be just a really, really wonderful place to teach American history. What I'm going to talk about today is a place called the Loramie site. I'm the one, I call it the Loramie site. It's on the Fleckenstein Farm in Fort Loramie, Ohio. And basically, here's a picture of the farm. This was the Fleckenstein Christmas card. And this is the Loramie Creek. And right up about here is we think where Peter Loramie had his trading post. And right about in here somewhere, or maybe perhaps under where the barn is today, was where Anthony Wayne had built Fort Loramie. It was a supply depot during the Frontier Indian Wars of the 1790s. And they've been pulling artifacts off of this place for decades. The Loramie site on the Fleckenstein Farm plays a small part in a much larger story. I like the way Dick talked about it in your newsletter. That's one of the finest newsletters that any chapter does anywhere, by the way. I hope you guys appreciate that. But he called this Crossroads, and I never thought to use that word in describing this, but it's a crossroad geographically, and it's also at the crossroads of history. What I'm going to be talking about today is primarily about the struggle for Ohio. And it's going to start with the French and Indian War, and it's going to end with the Battle of Fallen Timbers in 1794 and the Greenville Treaty of 1795. And to me, the fascinating thing about this is that from the start of the French and Indian War until the Indians are defeated at Fallen Timbers, that this all takes place within the lifespan of a man. And it all takes place within the lifespan of a particular man, George Washington, who was involved in some of the opening shots of the French and Indian War and ended up being the commander-in-chief when the Senate ratified the Treaty of Greenville in 1795. So all through everything we're going to be talking about, the bulk of what I'll be talking about today will be through George Washington's adulthood. Okay, now, the significance of this site right here has to do with the fact that it's on the upper stretches of the Miami River, and this is the Loramie Creek, a tributary of the Great Miami. And basically, it's where I live. Basically, I know people across the Continental Divide every day, going from Fort Loramie to Minster, Ohio. And essentially, you're crossing the area from the rivers that flow south into the Ohio to those that flow north into the North Atlantic out the St. Lawrence River. So basically, this is on a portage path. So it had been important. This area had been important as long as there have been humans in Ohio. You have several portages. The Miami Maumee. You go from the upper stretches of Loramie Creek to the upper stretches of the St. Mary's, and then from there to the Miami Indian town of Keakonga, or which is today Fort Wayne, and then from there out into Lake Erie. There's other portages in Ohio, the site Odo Sandusky Portage and the Muskingum Cuyahoga Portage. There's also another here where Fort Wayne is, and you go south and west and get on the Wabash, and it'll take you to the Mississippi. So these portage paths were heavily traveled. As long as there have been humans in Ohio, they've been heavily traveled. I want to talk about the Loramie site, briefly mention what I call the Burger site, and briefly mention something that I call, what Converse has written about, the Milky site, all along the Loramie Creek.